Hi everyone, this is Eldad Amara and this is my channel Eyes Wide Shut. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe and share. I've done part 1 to this video already and this is going to be part 2. In a minute I'm going to show you a video by a barrister. He'll talk a little bit about the British Constitution, the Magna Carta, and he'll talk a little bit about the history and why also that in the UK we need to protect our freedom, right? Our trial by jury. Our trial by jury, because they're trying to take that away from us. This new government, this new Labour Party that's come in, yeah, they are trying to take away our right to trial by jury. If we have no jury, how do we know that we're going to receive a fair trial? If it's only going to be tried by one judge. And this is what they're trying to bring in the UK. And there's some people already, some barristers in the UK, kicking back against this thing. Because this law, if it comes in, it's going to really affect our freedom and democracy so much. We have this Magna Carta, which is 810 years old. 810 years old. And it's just about to be totally swept away after 810 years. Now there's a MP in the UK and his name is David Lamley. He was born on the 19th of the 7th 1972 and he's 53 years old. He's a British politician, a black British politician, and served as Deputy Prime Minister for the UK, also Secretary of State for Justice and Lord Chancellor since September 1975. Right? If he's supposed to be the so-called Secretary of State for Justice, it looks like he's shown injustice because he's the one that's trying to bring in, along with his Labour Party members, to try and bring in. They've been trying for a long time to try and bring in this new law, right? Which means trial by jury only for serious cases such as murder, manslaughter or rape. Will you be able to get trial by jury? This is if this thing comes in, and it looks very likely like it is going to come in. Which members of the public, see, we're living in a democracy, parliamentary MPs are supposed to be there for us, to represent us. How many people have they asked in the general public if they want trial by jury or not? How many people have voted on this? I'm talking about members of the general public. How many people even knew that this, how many people knew that this legislation was being discussed? How many? Because I say that, well, I never voted for this, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people never voted for this. So where is this all coming from? You see, we're voting people in that aren't really doing what we request. I personally haven't voted since I've been 18 years of age because I've seen through all of the bullshit. I saw through all of this bullshit. Once these governments, they get in, right, you vote them in, they, half the time they don't do what you ask them to do, right? It's like they've got a different agenda. They'll policies that the citizens request, but then they got their own hidden agendas. There's so many laws that's passed every single week by governments, and half these laws they never even ask the general public about these bills and laws that they've been passing. And why is that? We're so busy giving away our sovereignty, giving away our freedom to these people, right? And they take our votes and they use it not for what we requested, but for what they want to do. Look at this Terrorism Act they brought in 2000. Now they're putting a clause in there. This is the Labour Party. They're putting a clause to say that anyone who goes out and do silent protests, who supports Palestinian terrorist groups, they could get up to something like 14 years imprisonment. 14 years imprisonment for supporting so-called terrorist groups. Okay, so Al-Qaeda being one. Yeah? Man, most people who go out on the street and protest about what's going on between Palestine and Israel, they're not going out there because they want to support some terrorist group. They're going out there because they don't like what's going on. Alright? Young people and children and women being slaughtered. Okay? That's why they're out there protesting. Not because they're supporting some terrorist group. Not because they're supporting Al-Qaeda or the Taliban or whatever groups. But now you want to take away people's freedoms. Yeah? You want to take away their right to go out and silently protest because of certain things that they're seeing on the TV. Yes, you're showing these things on the TV. Yeah? Where children, mothers, fathers, right? People are being removed. I'm going to use a certain word because they're going to pull down this video. They're being deleted, basically. Alright? They're being deleted. And check this out as well. Now got this other act, the fraud act. This is to do with the the DWP. If they think somebody has been committing fraud, they can go into people's bank accounts now. They can go into people's bank accounts. They don't have to go to the court to go and get a court order, right, or to get a warrant. They can just go straight into people's bank accounts and snoop in there and have a look and see what they've been spending their money on and if they've been creating any fraud. In some ways, yes, I can see the benefit of having such an act, because there is some people who go out there and they'll commit fraud, right? But you're using this as a broad sweeping brush to basically go into anybody's account that you suspect of committing fraud or something else. Yeah? What an encroachment on people's personal liberties and freedom. You can go into anybody's bank account and look at their bank account and you can stop their money, right, if you suspect that they're doing something illegal. And you don't have to go to the court now in order to go into to get a court order or to get a warrant. Now you've got the consent of the government of the state. The same states are going to be paying these judges to sit on their own and to try people. The same judges to sit and to try people. Where is the democracy? Where is the freedom? Where is our liberties going to? Alright? They also got this other act. What's the other act they brought in quite recently? There's another one. I'm trying to remember what it is now. Alright? But you have the Terrorism Act. You have the Fraud Act. And now they're trying, this is the Labour Party, this goes to show that they're not listening to members of the public. They want to bring in this digital ID card, right, for citizens to carry around this digital ID card. That's another infringement on people's civil liberties, and it is. Because why do you want to do that? You're saying because you don't want people working illegally here, alright? People coming to this country and working illegally. So you want to bring in this digital ID card. And you're saying also that these boat people are coming in illegally, so you want to try and prevent that also. So now you want to take the whole complete population by telling the whole nation that you need to have an ID card. They just want to track every single thing that you're doing and everywhere that you're going. And some people still have not woken up to it yet. They have not woken up to it yet. And if this digital ID card comes in, along with something called a social credit score system like they have in China, you might as well just kiss goodbye to the baby. Because in China, the government award people, right, for things that they've done, deemed good in the eyes of the state. It's on the social credit score system. And if you do anything that's wrong, deemed by the government, they take away points away from you. Man, we are starting to live in this real dystopic society, which Orwell talks about, which George Orwell talks about in his book 95. Trial without any jury. Is that going to be fair? You see, the other thing is, if you have trial with no jury, how do you know that the trial is going to be fair? How do you know that the judge who's going to be sat there, how do you know that he's going to be impartial? Because he could be against certain groups of people, such as black people, might be against Muslim people, he might be against people who go out and protest, he might be against gay groups, right? You don't know what affiliation this person might have with certain other groups or certain other parties. How do you know that this person is going to be impartial? How do you know he's going to be unbiased? Look at how many black people, young black people, are in prison right now, sat in prison, right? And some of them are innocent. So you get a judge who might have something against black people. You get a judge who might be against people from a certain background, right, or a religious group. How do you know that he's going to be impartial and try this person in front of him in a fair manner, in a just manner? Listen, the Magna Carta is 810 years old, right? Let me give you a bit of background. The Magna Carta is a royal charter of rights signed by King John of England in 1215. It is 810 years old. It established the principle that no one, including the king, is above the law. No one, including the king, King John, is above the law. So now they're talking about bringing in judges just to sit on their own without any jury, unless it's a serious case. It's a case of murder, manslaughter, or rape. Other than that, it looks like you will be tried by a judge and not by a jury. Only when it is a serious case, such as murder, rape, or manslaughter, that you will have trial by jury. And part of the reason why David Lamley wants to bring this thing in is because, guess what, there's a backlog in the last quarter of over 80,000 people. Over 80,000 people waiting to get tried. Waiting to get tried, right? Or am I using the wrong term? Waiting to get tried? Waiting to see or judge. There's people waiting to go to courts. Let me put it that way. Not waiting for a trial, waiting to go to court. So tell me this. Is it going to be fair? Is it going to be just? Is it going to be unbiased when you have just a judge sitting in front of you who's going to make all the decisions and decide whether or not, say, to send you to prison or to give you a heavy fine? And as I say, this judge might be biased against certain types of people, working class people, people who go out and protest, black people, yeah, people from a certain religious background. it seems that our democracy is being eroded bit by bit. Every single day there's new laws coming in, and half of these haven't been voted on by ordinary citizens, right? Government is supposed to be there to represent the people. Democracy means for the people, by the people, for the people. So anyway, there's a backlog of 80,000 people, okay, in the last quarter. So when they bring in these judges to try people, are they going to just try and rush people through? Yeah? Say you're guilty, you're guilty, you're guilty, you're guilty, right? Because there's a backlog, and not try people fairly and impartially, but just try and rush people through? Is that real justice? Is that real democracy? Let me read out a couple of quotes here. There was Blackstone, an old lawyer in the 1700s. Blackstone, an old lawyer in the 1700s. Blackstone, a lawyer in the 1700s, said trial by jury was a sacred bulwark of our nation, securing our liberty. And also, Lord Devlin, what he said about trial by jury is, it is a lamp that shows that freedom lives. We talk about trial by jury. I'm going to quickly show you this video by this barrister, and he'll give you a little bit of insight about the Magna Carta, and also why we should be protesting against trial by judges only. Now watch this video and join me for part 3 coming up soon.
I'm doing a video to explain your right to trial by jury. I'm doing this because in a move that I simply cannot comprehend, could never have anticipated or expected, and just knocked me for 6. Hello, I am the barrister Stephen Barrett, and I'm doing a video to explain your right to trial by jury. I'm doing this because in a move that I simply cannot comprehend, could never have anticipated or expected, and just knocked me for 6. Our Labour government has decided to announce that it's going to remove your right to trial by jury if you're accused of a crime. The right to trial by jury, so the Normans, people often think that our country doesn't have a constitution. It does, it just doesn't have a single constitutional document because we weren't founded all in one go. We were founded in a long struggle against peace-loving farming peoples who were conquered by very, very aggressive military men called Normans. In 1066 they invade, they kill our previous leaders, and they are monsters. They are absolute mafia. This is Taliban-style rule. The first real act of civilization in our country is the Assize of Clarendon in 1166, when we got a form of trial. Before that, you were just guilty if the Lord said you were. And that was trial by ordeal. That was, I'm not going to explain what it is because it's just unpleasant. That we got rid of all of this. We've carried on struggling, saying, stop oppressing us, you monsters, until we get trial by jury in 1215. And we've had trial by jury since 1215, and we should always carry on having trial by jury. It is the fundamental right in our constitution against tyranny, against dictatorship. It stops all of the evils of communism, all of the evils of fascism. It allows us to live decent, happy lands as the free people of the West. And I know that we've been drifting away from that idea, but push is coming to shove time, and we need to realise it's time that we stand up for all of this. Maybe I'll deal with how we do that at the end. In the beginning, the crimes that you got trial by jury for were treason against the king, concealing treasure from the king, murder, arson, robbery, rape, and forgery. And those are still pretty much the serious offences that we consider that you ought to have a trial by jury for now. I should flag up trial by magistrate, which was a smaller but nonetheless identical system. The idea is that you should never be tried, you should never be found guilty by an employee of the state. Okay, to begin with, that was an employee of the king. That's what all judges are. They were employees of the king. They're now employees of government. I can tell you right now, they've all got .gov email addresses. They all receive their payment every month from the government paycheck, and they receive their salaries from the government. And the idea of that is that because government employees are far too easy to corrupt, and particularly if they sit on their own. And I think that that is a rational fear. Our judiciary are currently selected. They're only promoted, they're only made judges or allowed to advance in their career if they can demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equality and inclusion, which are communism. So we are deliberately selecting judges who either genuinely believe in these communist ideas or who are at least willing to mouth them. Both types of human are dangerous humans, because the genuine believer is obviously a threat, particularly if you're perceived as an enemy of DEI for some reason, or not pro to the left. We've seen how violent and aggressive these people are. But also the one who's willing to give lip service is just as dangerous, because the chances are if you go before them, they'll probably sit there thinking this is terribly unfair and it's unfortunate that you're a victim of state wrongness, but they'll nonetheless convict you because they don't want to lose their job, because they demonstrated that when they got their job. So these are very dangerous people. I want to just remind you why, or to explain to you why this has blindsided me. So in 2017, the now Lady Chief Justice gave a speech, as they are wont to do, and she decided that she would give it on trial by jury. And she says, in the very opening paragraph, she said that Lord Devlin, at the outset of his Hamlin lectures in 1956, observed that trial by jury was a subject on which it was not possible to say anything very novel or very profound. And what you should take away from the fact that you can't say anything really very interesting about trial by jury is because it's accepted. It's been here for 800 years, or 810 years, and it is just our system. Absolutely our system. And then she goes on to quote people who say nice things about trial by jury. Blackstone did it. He's a very old lawyer from the 17th century. He said that trial by jury was the sacred bulwark of the nation, securing our liberty. It is. It is a sacred bulwark of the nation, securing our liberty. In more modern times, Lord Camden said it was the foundation of our free constitution. Really, our freedoms flow from the right to trial by jury. We are free because of, I would say now in the modern world, two things. The right to trial by jury and the right to vote. And those two things are at the beating heart of our constitution. Now, Lord Eldon, another more modern lord, said the greatest blessing which the British constitution had secured to the subject. It's our great achievement, trial by jury. It's our starring glory. Napoleon, who was a vicious, evil dictator who created the French legal system, didn't want trial by jury, and the French don't have trial by jury. We'll get back to that. Lord Devlin said that trial by jury is the lamp that shows that freedom lives. A much more modern judge, Lord Judge, a nominative determinatism there, said trial by jury was a safeguard against oppression and dictatorship. It is our safeguard against oppression and dictatorship. It's inconceivable to me that anybody who believes or purports to believe what the lefty lawyers say that they believe would do this to trial by jury, which is why I think a lot of lefty lawyers will be reeling tonight, because they will realise that they have been conned all along. Now this is Fabian Marxism, so for those who don't know, that's where you don't have a revolution, you have a very slow-moving capture of the state to turn it into a Marxist, they would say, paradise, and we will end up in the hellhole. But the Fabians have been moving very slowly. They accelerated under Blair. So Blair made the first assault on the right to trial by jury by getting rid of magistrates. We had 3 magistrates who are not lawyers, not state employees, who would try you for lesser offences. Blair changed that to 1 district judge who is a state employee, who does receive a salary and a pension and a .gov email address. And I think that has not improved those lesser offences, but many of us simply ignored it. Well, they boil the frog slowly. This is clearly Labour coming back for the second bite of the cherry. It was announced in a way to make it seem pretty trivial, but it now seems that for almost anything other than murder, manslaughter or rape, you're not going to be able to have a jury. That's huge. That's absolutely catastrophically huge. You will be tried by an individual who has demonstrated his or her ideological commitment to diversity, equality and inclusion, the Marxist mantra, and they will sit on their own and they will say whether what you're saying is true or not true. They will say whether something happened or did not happen. These are the people who are more than willing to say that a man who says he is a woman has become a woman. These people have a very loose relationship with the truth, and they're going to be trying you and us. I suspect me, because I'm exactly the type of person that these regimes don't like, which is why I do videos like these. I want to, just before I go, flag two things. One is that this is what happens when you trust in the European Convention of Human Rights, when you trust in human rights lawyers, and when you start to believe the lie that lawyers will keep you safe and look after you forever. Don't need to worry your little head about it, darling. That's how we got into this mess. Trusting the state. We need, once again, to have a very healthy distrust of the state. Because French law and most continental law is based upon the law of Napoleon, an evil dictator, they don't have trial by jury. So the ECHR does not protect trial by jury, and David Lammy's going to make hay out of this. Our constitution does. We've had it for 800 years. You cannot deny. 810 years. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. But they don't have it. So if you think the ECHR is going to step in and protect us from our evil, tyrannical government, no, they're not. The other thing is to say that Labour have absolutely zero mandate to do this. It was not in their constitution, in their manifesto. They did not tell us in advance that they were going to do this. In fact, Lammy lied through his teeth, because in 2021, David Lammy said how fantastic and amazing jury trials were and how important they are. Before he brought in the Human Rights Act, Tony Blair and all the lefty lawyers were, saying how important jury trials were. They have screamed and squealed if anybody else has tried to take them away. They did that because what they really intended all along was that they would take them away. And they weren't willing to take away jury trials until they had judges in place who were nobbled. There's no other word to use. They've had this judicial appointment system since the late 90s, possibly early noughties, I really don't care. But it has, and we sit here in 2025, it's the slow boil. They now think that they can trust those judges to be political and to be their loyal supporters. This is tyranny. This is evil. You need to rise up and fight back. You do that, I think, in the first instance, by petitioning the king. You should tell your MP how you feel. Get your opinions out there, form local groups, join Facebook, join with fellow voters, learn the boundaries of your MP constituency and form groups within it so that you can threaten them. These people, these monsters, thank goodness, they are very low legitimacy. They have very few votes. A lot of them have tiny, tiny margins. You can organise, you can fight back. No lawyer is going to protect you. That's not our system. And you can look to me and say, Stephen, well, I really wish we had a legal-based constitution like the French or like the Americans. No, it didn't protect the French from tyranny. It didn't protect Germany from falling to tyranny. It didn't protect Russia from falling to tyranny. It didn't protect Spain from falling to tyranny. Our constitution in the 1930s kept us safe because it understood ordinary people need to get involved. I'd like to get magistrates back, but we must stop the stealing of trial by jury by these petty little tyrants. Lammy's not funny. He's a nasty piece of work.